Why is the cat going crazy? It's a dog owner. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Naval, you're quick. Quick on the fingers there. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody? I hope you've all read my blog today and yesterday. I don't know if I'm going to restart comments in the blog. I'm thinking at the moment, this is subject to change, but I'm thinking at the moment that I will keep comments off through the election. And when I start blogging about something that's not the election, I'll probably turn them back on again. Because the comments during the election are not the fun, useful kind. They're just the annoying troll kind, so that they don't have any intellectual value. Don't too many trolls. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Go back to taking comic ideas. Well, I like comic ideas on here, so if you have any, please give them. Nah, I probably don't need a moderator. It's just that during the political season, the comments are a complete waste of time. Thanks. I'm glad you liked the Bill Crystal comeback. The app is coming along terrifically. Actually, I use it 2 to 3 times a day to solve a range of problems, and I can't live without it already. But I'll tell you more about the app that we have released already. I'm just not telling you the name of it because it's Apple only at the moment. Our Android version will be ready. Hello, Tinkerbell. Good morning. Android version will be ready in a few weeks, and then I'll start talking about it. You used the app in Canada, and it worked. It should work. People were surprised that my book is good. Calendar Tree is the existing startup. My new, bigger, better startup does everything the Calendar Tree does, but so much more that it's an entirely different thing. What's on my mind? Well, lots of things. Dragon Slayer on Twitter. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, let me tell you a little bit about what I was saying on the blog this morning. So, yesterday, I think, I blogged that experience is overrated, and that they asked me about the flinch comment in a bit. I wanted to talk about the blog right now. So I talked about how experience is overrated for the president, because the presidency was designed so that a civilian can come into it and have lots of advice. And if it's a smart civilian who's willing to work hard and study, it shouldn't be too hard to master it. Of course, people went crazy because if you think that Hillary Clinton has the experience you need, then you think experience is important. But President Obama didn't really have any experience that was terribly relevant. Being a junior senator for a while isn't much. And senators don't manage people the way a president does. And governors don't have international experience the way a president does. So your best case scenario, if you get a governor or a senator, is you get half as much as you think you want, and probably even that wasn't necessary, because I think most people could learn most topics with the benefit of the world's experts in a fairly short amount of time. People say that Trump isn't doing his homework, isn't studying, doesn't have a mastery of the facts. But imagine getting elected in November, and you've got until January to do nothing but study the facts. Do you think you couldn't get up to speed by then? I'm pretty sure I could. I'm pretty sure 75% of the people on this Periscope could make that happen. So one of the things I'm going to be blogging about is that Trump is, as far as I can tell, a systems thinker as opposed to a goal-oriented thinker. If you read my book, How to Fail at Almost Everything in Oh, hello. Sorry I got bumped off that last Periscope incoming phone call. Poorly timed. The funny thing is, every time I've been kicked off of Periscope, it's because of an incoming phone call from the same person, which is weird. All right, folks. So I was just talking about how my blog today was talking about how it really isn't that hard to be president if you're smart and you're willing to put in the work to learn stuff. Experience is kind of overrated. Governors don't really have experience in international affairs, and senators haven't managed people the way a president does. And the real skill of being president is picking advisors and knowing which ones to trust. So it's not much more than a CEO does on a regular basis, or an entrepreneur. But just for fun, today I blogged that the people who think experience is so necessary for president still vote. Now, how can you vote if you think that you need presidential-like experience to even run for president? Because in order to pick the best president, you would have to either understand the topics at a presidential level, to know as much as a president, to judge whether they're making the right decision. Because personally, when I look at the TPP agreements or whatever, I have no fucking idea whether that's a good idea or they should have done it differently, or what was the background, what were the trade-offs, if they'd done something else, would have some other problem occur? I don't know. Do you think you know? Because if you think you know, and you think you're smart enough to second-guess the two candidates for president who also don't understand it, at least at this point, it seems nonsensical to vote based on experience if you yourself don't have any. All right. So if you don't have any experience being president, how can you judge someone else in terms of their worthiness? Even if they tell you what their policies will be, how can you judge them? You don't have experience as a president. So if you think that experience matters to be president, you should also not vote because you don't have any. All right. We vote on feelings, exactly. I'm a man of uncommon sense, I like to think. Does Assange have it out for Hillary? Yes. I don't vote, no. Yeah, Jimmy Carter should run again. I'm totally stealing that. When you see me tweet that to somebody or blog about it, just know I stole it from you, okay? Feel free to jump on Twitter and say, you stole that from me. I'll even confirm it. I don't vote because I don't have experience as president. So how would I know which one would do the best job? Well, beyond that, I don't have the same policy preferences as any of them. I'm more of a systems person than a this is the specific answer person. A systems person means that if you ask me what we should do, we should be trying things on a small scale and testing, see what works. There might be, for example, trying a new healthcare scheme in one state, see how it goes. Trying an ISIS solution in one place, see how it goes. So it's more of a process than a specific policy. Well, you can still have general goals. I would move to more general goals. Instead of saying, I will make exactly $1 million in 1 year, why not work toward wealth and be a little bit more flexible about how you get there? I'm a federalist. I don't even know what that means in this context. Have much of an impact? Yeah, the president has a big impact on some stuff. Clinton admin would be very anti-male. It might feel that way. Oh, you got a system for your diet and it works wonders. Excellent. Build a wall around one state, see how it goes. Actually, the wall is a perfect example. Israel built a wall. That's a good relative to the size of Israel. It's a really good small trial. So if you're asking yourself, do walls work to keep people out? You don't have to wonder. You can just look at one. Look at one that was built recently that is keeping terrorists out. Does it work? Apparently it does. That doesn't mean some people aren't crawling under it. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means it's better than whatever you were doing before. Yeah, I blocked lots of people on Twitter. Mexico is building a southern border wall. Oh, that's funny. I don't know if that's true, but it would be funny if they did. I have abdicated my right to vote. You don't know how rights work, do you? Audio's cutting in and out? That's probably just you. Is anybody else having an audio problem? Great Wall of Trump. Do you play for U2? Do I look like somebody on U2? All right. I probably need to... Oh, it's Starbucks from my coffee machine. That's good coffee. All right. Does anybody have any questions while I'm here? What would you like to know? By the way, has anybody seen any polls since the Democratic convention? Speaking of polls, I haven't checked today. Has anybody seen any polls? Am I bitter about the Pac Bell experience when I was passed up for promotion due to diversity goals? No. Because, here's the thing. It's really hard in 2016 to simply talk about reality because people are so worked up about their team. But it can be true that I was passed up for promotion twice, first at a bank and then at the phone company, because I was a white male. And here I'm not speculating. In both cases, my bosses called me into a meeting and said, we're getting a lot of pressure to improve diversity in senior management, and so until further notice, you're not a promotable employee. So I'm not guessing. I was told directly, twice. Now, both of those two things ruined my corporate careers, but as you noticed, I switched tracks and did okay in cartooning and such. But it's also true that being a adult white guy in the United States gives me some advantages, and I can't enjoy the advantages while complaining about the few disadvantages, which were a little bit unique to me. There aren't many adult white men who have lost two corporate careers one after another because of diversity quotas, and that's a pretty unusual experience. And as you saw, I did well, because I was born in a country where being an adult white male is a pretty good deal. So the question was, am I bitter about it? And the answer is no, because, it's sort of a take the good with the bad situation, right? The basket of benefits that I get living in the United States is overall positive. The roads have potholes, but that doesn't mean I don't use roads. So if you look at the big picture, things are fine. I don't know Ann Althouse. Sounds like a realist. I try to be. You should periscope yourself mastering a subject in 1 hour. That would be interesting. I have a theory that you can master 80% of most fields if you know the 12 most important factors. Now 12 is somewhat randomly chosen, just based on experience. But let's take, for example, if you wanted to be a photographer. If you knew the 12 concepts of, let's say, how to do 3-point lighting, how to adjust your filters, what kind of camera to buy, but you get to 12, and you can take a picture that probably would look pretty close to professional quality. You wouldn't be as good as a professional. That's why I say you'd be 80% as good. But I think that would be true with almost every political topic. Now, some of them are a little bit easier. Take the abortion question. I think any smart adult could understand abortion front to back in less than an hour. Even if you started from nothing and you had experts, cluing you in, as long as you had a general understanding of what the Supreme Court is and what abortion is, it wouldn't take you long to get there. Now, on the question of ISIS, what to do, well, that's a terribly complicated issue. So you say to yourself, Scott, you could not learn everything you need to know about battling ISIS in 1 hour. That's crazy. Well, let me ask you, how are we doing now? All right? I could learn to not beat ISIS in an hour, because that's what everybody else knows. So I could be up to the same level of functional knowledge about ISIS as the President of the United States. Not in an hour. I could get there in about 60 seconds. Watch, I'll just sit here for 60 seconds. At the end of it, I'll say, I don't know what the fuck to do about ISIS. And I'm equal to the president. He doesn't know what to do about ISIS. We're bombing stuff. I could come up with that idea. How about fighting the people we think are on the other side that may not be? How about arming people we think are on our side until they join the other side and use the weapons against us? How does that work? All the plans don't work. All right? So if you ask me what I'd do, you didn't, but I know you want to. What would I do about ISIS? Well, I'd take an hour figuring out, making sure I understood the players. And then when I was done, I would know that I didn't understand the players any more than anybody else does. Because even if you think you know which rebel group is on your side, it's going to be different tomorrow, right? And they might be lying. Maybe they're kind of on your side, but really they're just hoping that you beat their enemies and then they can be against you. So it's all liquid. It's all unknowable. It all changes daily. Actually, dosing LSD over ISIS strongholds, not the worst idea I've seen today. Actually, I think some version of that would actually be something that's worth considering, which is weird. If you don't really understand the whole, how useful the LSD and the other hallucinogens are to good mental health, then that suggestion didn't make any sense. Sounds like a crazy thing, drop LSD on ISIS territory. But I got to say, you couldn't do it that crudely, but just the idea of drugging them into, let's say, a more open-minded mindset, that totally would work. It's immoral. It's probably violates war crimes, I would guess. I mean, I don't know. Oh, there's an example. How long would it take me to understand what's a war crime? Starting from nothing, which is what I know now, probably about an hour, just like everything else. You can learn in an hour, or it's unlearnable, like how to beat ISIS. All right? Give me 6 years to study ISIS. Guess what? At the end of 6 years, I still won't know anything useful. I will not. So the way I would fight ISIS is, I've said this before on other periscopes, I would work with people who were ISIS inclined, whether they were volunteers or captured or whoever you get them. I would hook them up to brain scanners. We have lots of technology for measuring brain activity. I would give them a number of arguments and inputs and visual images and memes, and then I would see which one seems to work. Find some way to test them before and after, see if they're more or less inclined to join ISIS and kill somebody. Once you find out which one works better than the other, then you say, well, we at least have this one. And the whole point of A/B testing is you keep testing until you get better and better solutions, until you find a way that's persuasively effective. Now, you still have to do some bombing and some self-defense and all that, because that's part of persuasion as well. But the way I would go about it is as a persuasion problem. Now, when you say to yourself, this Donald Trump character is the most dangerous Hitler I've ever seen. He's going to have his fingers on the nuclear codes, and he's a radical clown, and I don't know what he's going to do in office. But consider this. He has indicated, as has Newt Gingrich, who is seemingly connected to Trump this time, that in different words, but he's essentially said that ISIS is a persuasion problem, and that Trump is an expert in persuasion. Now, that doesn't mean he's an expert on persuading ISIS, but he's certainly a person who understands the importance of persuasion and knows that it's probably the only way to fix this ISIS thing in the long run. So chances are Trump would approach it as a persuasion problem and not a nuclear bomb problem, because that's his orientation. And as people have pointed out on Twitter, that Trump owns a lot of territory around the world, and the last thing he needs is, more stuff blowing up. What he needs is persuasion. So his self-interest, as well as his inclination from decades, is to use persuasion, not violence. So I would think, again, nobody knows the future. We don't know what's in anybody's minds. But if you look at Trump's history, he has no violence in it. He talks about stuff like, hey, I'd punch that guy in the nose. But that's sort of like saying somebody has a punchable face. You're not really going to punch anybody, right? Closet supremacist. How would he persuade? Well, he would persuade scientifically. And by that I mean he would pick some small area that he could test, whether it's a group of individuals or a territory, and they would try something. Just say, well, I think if we try this, we'll see this might persuade them. And then just see how it works and compare it to some other method. So if you're not testing persuasion on an ongoing basis, have a hypothesis, test it, see how it works, compare it to the next one, you're not really trying. So I would say that, we have a very experienced president right now. 2 terms is pretty experienced, right? I happen to have a higher opinion of Obama's job performance than I think most people do. It's hard to evaluate a president because you're not really comparing him to the other president that wasn't on the job during those same 8 years. There's nothing really to compare him to. But he's been smart and capable, and, I won't get into the full Obama defense, but I think he's been a smart, capable, and now highly experienced president. Does he have a solution for ISIS? Nope. He does not. Do you see much persuasion going on? There might be. The CIA might be doing stuff. Who knows? But, he should be bragging about it if he thinks it's going to work. I am a lightning rod. I'm not going to be talking about any crime accusations that, have some sketchy witnesses from the past. You have to assume that those accusations on both sides are not serious at this point. Why hasn't that method been used for much in this context? I'll tell you why. It's because people don't realize how powerful it is. There's a reason that I predicted Trump's rise last year, and almost no one else did. And the ones who did it on policy reasons, which I think is lucky, and lucky in the sense that they got right. I think Trump could have gotten to this point even with different policy positions because of his persuasion. But once you realize how powerful persuasion is, it would be irresponsible not to use it as president to persuade ISIS. Thank you. No, it's true. What's true? I do have arguments that people wish they had had with Trump. That's funny. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's true. So far as a form of hacking permission, not really. Every Republican is called a racist. That's just automatic. Could Trump have won the Democratic nomination? Well, maybe not in a year that Hillary Clinton was running. Well, no, actually, let me take that back. Bernie got so close that Trump probably could have put it over the top here. It would have been harder because the primaries were rigged on the Democratic side. But maybe. How do you persuade ISIS? You do it as a process. So it's not that I have the idea that persuades ISIS. What you do is say, I have several ideas that have potential. We will try each of them at the same time in different places with maybe different groups of people, different real estate, and we'll see which one does best. If one of them does best, we might try it in some other places to find out if that was a fluke. So you would take somewhat of a scientific approach to it. You have a hypothesis, you test it, you measure it, you use the good stuff. All right. 48 volts. Would you ever run for office? I can't see that happening. Nonverbal methods, yeah. So let me talk about Newt Gingrich's idea, which I also call my idea. So I blogged about this before Newt Gingrich mentioned it. And it's the idea of, instead of saying we're trying to kill all these ISIS fighters, we say instead we're going to let you run your test, let you have your caliphate, let you run your world the way you want to run it, and we'll just compare it. We're going to build a little wall around you. We're good with walls. Let's call it a digital wall. Perhaps it's a fleet of drones permanently circling the perimeter of the caliphate and just blasting anything that gets near the border. But some kind of a wall. So you wall it in, and then following Newt's suggestion, which is really the same as my suggestion, you bomb their Christian technology only. So if they have anything over there that's built by Christians or heathens of any kind, you just bomb that. And you tell them, we're just going to bomb your stuff. Just the stuff that doesn't belong in the Islamic system. We respect your decision to live as a pure Islamic society, and we're going to help you get rid of all the bad effects of this Christian stuff so you can do your own thing. Now, obviously, that's not what they want, but you just stop acting like you care what they want, and you say, no, you like this experiment, we respect it, we're going to help you. But don't get near your car because we're going to take that out for you. And you might want to put down your telephone. That won't work after we bomb all the towers. So what you do is you just get rid of their technology. Now, I assume the reason we have not already got rid of their technology is that it's harder to kill them. Because if they have technology, there's big machines moving around that are easy to spot, and if they're using cell phones when they shouldn't, you can tell who the terrorists are, and you can map their network, and you can do all that. So I'm pretty sure there's a reason we're not bombing their technology. We're probably using it for military means. But here's the trick. We're not going to win militarily. So instead, I would say let's give up that advantage, the advantage we can track people with their cell phones and stuff, put a wall around it, and make it a persuasion game where you just bomb their technology. But only the stuff that the Christians built. Because who wants all that bad heathen Christian technology anyway in your caliphate? At the same time, you want to prove that you're not trying to kill them, right? That you're not anti-caliphate. So you airdrop stuff that says, here's some plows and some seeds, courtesy of ISIS and the traditional caliphate, provided by USA or made in USA, but totally Islamic, construction. Or maybe actually it'd be better to only airdrop plows and seeds that were created or built by Islamic craftsmen. And you give it to them as much as they want so they can grow their own food and live their life in the caliphate. Now, if they like living there, great. If anybody else wants to go join them, let them in. It's just the getting out that's going to be the hard problem, all right? Farting with, yeah. Thoughts on Stefan? Well, I haven't talked to him yet. I think I have that scheduled. Trump crying during... Oh, yeah, it did look like he was getting a little teary-eyed there. Probability of the super-intelligent AI getting developed? 100%. It just depends when. What's up for you in 2017? I think it depends entirely upon the election. Don't you? Because imagine how my life is different if Trump gets elected versus he doesn't. Those are two different paths. Yeah, of course their idea is to establish the Caliphate worldwide. And what you do, persuasion-wide, is you don't argue with that. You say, absolutely, create your Caliphate worldwide. But first, test it. Make sure you're sure it works in the Caliphate. And we're going to help you do that. If it works in the Caliphate and everybody's happy and everybody loves it, maybe we'll do it too. We'll take a look. Compare it to what we're doing. Pictures of who in blackface? I missed that first part. Yeah, Trump is hypnotic. How does Trump getting elected change my day-to-day life? Well, it changes it in the sense that I'm probably the most prominent predictor of the landslide. So, at least the one who gives a specific reason related to persuasion. So if Trump wins in the landslide, as I've been predicting since last year, people are going to say, that cartoonist guy might know something. And then that would suggest maybe I write a book about my experience or take persuasion as more of a permanent feature of the blog. But if Hillary Clinton sweeps into office and wins by a handy amount, then I would say, well, I think I was a little bit right. At least Trump got this far. But I think the national appetite for hearing about me talk about persuasion would be gone, because people would say, every time I said anything, people would just say, well, you were wrong about Trump. Why should we listen to you? So it would make that an impractical path. Business game. Yeah, I don't think I'll make a business game. It's too boring. No, I don't have a belly button. I was created. Do you fund your family? Of course. You want to see my fridge? I don't think there's anything in there right now. I don't think there's anything that's actually edible in my refrigerator right now. Doesn't make me want Trump to win for personal reasons. It's a mixed bag. If Trump wins, then my credibility as a predictor goes way up. So that's good. But if he wins and he does anything people don't like, which would be, say every single thing he does, I mean, half the world is going to hate, people will blame me. They'll think, damn it, you kept saying good things about his persuasion skills, so it's your fault he got elected. And then I will be assassinated. So no, my life would probably be worse if Trump gets elected, because I wouldn't be able to go out in public because of all the violent possibilities. Women are far more persuasive than men. Are you kidding me? Let me give you my theory why that is. And again, theory is too strong a word. Let's call it a hypothesis. Assuming evolution is a real thing and that we evolved with certain skills that made sense evolution-wise. Women are far smaller than men, and therefore being around big, dangerous men would be bad for women. It would be dangerous. And especially if they're pregnant or they're trying to take care of a small child, men are extra dangerous because now the woman is weakened by the pregnancy and limited by taking care of the child, so they're extra weak compared to big, dangerous cavemen in the past, right? So it seems to me that women would have developed an ability to defend themselves against bigger, stronger, violence-prone males. And that capability is probably psychological, meaning that a woman can convince you emotionally, psychologically, mentally not to use violence because you say to yourself, I love you, or there's something about you, So it's easy for women, at least with their partners or spouses or potential partners, or even business people, if it's a business guy, to use persuasion, because I think biologically men are primed to be persuaded by women, because it made sense evolutionarily, in evolutionary terms, for women to learn how to survive in a world with big, dangerous men. Right? So a man doesn't have to learn psychology and persuasion to be safe from women, because they pose no danger. But it's not true the other way. A woman has to learn to use her mind and her wits and her emotions and persuasion to get men to not only not attack them, but to provide resources when they need it to raise a child. That's a hypothesis, by the way, not a fact. Have you had people approach you in public regarding your support of Trump? No, I have not. It's weird. You'd think I would. Tyrion's great, yeah. Yeah, I think Trump should let Clinton alone and go on to run the country if he gets elected. What do you lift? I actually do light weights. So my plan for longevity is to protect my knees. Because if you protect your knees, then you're mobile and you get to walk around. And if you're active, that's probably the number one thing after diet, I suppose, that will affect your longevity and the quality of your life in your older years. So I don't lift heavy weights because I don't want to be a heavy weight. I don't want the pressure on my knees. So I do light weights, and I work on some basic functional type of muscles, like ability to walk upstairs and lift objects. Is Mark your brother? No. Any overlap in globalism, nationalism in modern post-era? That's word thinking. I don't do word thinking. Word thinking I defined recently in my blog as the folks who say that something is or isn't a conservative value, something is or isn't Islamic, something is or isn't Hitler. As soon as you're as soon as you start wondering if something is in or out of a label, you have abandoned reason, because there are no two situations alike. 3 back surgeries, take care of your health. Yeah, I'm trying to protect the back. That's also why I quit tennis. Tennis made my back hurt all the time. Neurotypical? Probably. Thoughts on Trump's Muslim ban? He doesn't have a Muslim ban. He has a territorial ban, which it kind of always was, but it sounds better to say it's a territorial ban. Swim for exercise? I swim, but it's usually my second exercise if I do. Do you think the flinch tweet was a bit too far? Yes. But here's the thing with humor that goes too far. There's sort of a rule of thumb that you can go farther with your humor if it's funnier. So the funnier it is, the more outrageous you can be, because then people say, that was sort of irresistible. You're being offensive, but I get it. That was a good joke. But if you're not funny and you're just offensive, you can't go very far with the offensiveness, because then you're just being a dick. There's no redeeming value there. So the tweet you mentioned that was too far, had it not been funny, definitely too far. For the people who thought it was hilarious, which apparently was hundreds of people who retweeted it, it wasn't too far, because the humor redeemed it. For the people who don't have a sense of humor or don't think that kind of content is funny just automatically, it was too far. So there's no such thing as too far or not too far. They're just too far for some people. It's interesting. I discovered when I became a professional humorist that a huge percentage of the population doesn't have a sense of humor and are literally bluffing that they do. And I'm going to say that not a joke. I'm going to say this very analogous to people who are illiterate, but they've somehow made it to adulthood and still bluff by, saying, well, I won't read that memo, but tell me what you would recommend. So somehow people get to adulthood without even being able to read and somehow function. And I think people do the same thing with sense of humor. There's a wide swath of people who only think something's funny if something bad and slapsticky happened to someone they know or themselves. So there are a lot of people who will laugh hilariously because they themselves slipped on the ice and fell in a puddle and ruined their nice clothes. But they won't laugh at an actual joke. Right? Now those people would think they have a sense of humor because, I laugh all the time. I find lots of things funny. But it's not really a joke that you fell in a mud puddle. Okay, I'll laugh at that too. But sense of humor, I think no more than half of the population, of any population, has a legitimate sense of humor. In the same way that most people don't have musical sense. Or that, most people are not athletes. Most people are not most things, right? And sense of humor is one of those things that we all appreciate, a sense of humor. And so I think at least a third of the people that I've met are clearly just pretending to have a sense of humor. They're the ones who listen to the joke and go, or, do you watch Seinfeld? Oh, yeah, I love Seinfeld. I've never laughed at it, but I sit there and watch it. Sarah Silverman is terrible. Sarah Silverman is very, very funny. How'd you get that lazy eye? I think I'm just always tired. I don't feel tired. I think I'm just underslept. Humorless people are real scary, yeah. My favorite sitcom, let's say Modern Family. I hate when I have to say I was kidding. I love Larry David. Louis C.K. is the most offensive and the funniest. Well, he's got some problems right now, apparently. No, I'm not a night owl. I'm a morning person. There was a beeping noise a minute ago. I think the washing machine was done. I used to drink diet sodas, but I gave up on them. So part of my diet system is identifying individual things that I'm trying to quit instead of changing my whole diet all at once and taxing my willpower. I just pick out one thing at a time and quit it. So Diet Coke I quit after 35 years of drinking up to 12 Diet Cokes a day, typically. It's I don't really have any thoughts on Hunter Thompson. Am I worried about backlash? Yeah, of course. Well, worried is the wrong word. I mean, I don't worry myself to sleep about that or anything else. But does my risk profile get higher because of things I've said about Trump? And again, I'm not a supporter. I've actually endorsed Hillary Clinton for my personal safety, so because I live in California and I don't want anybody to kill me. But definitely just writing about Trump increases my risk profile. It's just not a risk I choose to worry about. How do I keep my teeth so white? It's a trick. And the trick is that they appear whiter on video than they really are. They're actually pretty white because they're veneers. So that the front teeth are veneers. It's a rich guy trick. It's a movie star trick. But they actually are not as white as they look. So even veneers are not perfectly white. Not as white as they look anyway. Yeah, I brush them once in a while. How far will he go? He will win in a landslide, I've predicted since last year. continued polarization will end in civil war? It could. I mean, if things calm down now, no. But if things worsen, yeah. Yeah, veneers are a little bit transparent, meaning that whatever is underneath them is going to come through a little bit. The first human is going to... Well, I missed that, sorry. Do you like anal? I don't. Thanks for asking. Your coffee is better when I share. I know it is. Check this out. Does anybody have coffee? Drink it at the same time and watch how much better it is. All right, I'll give you a minute. Lift your coffee. If you have any near you, get it out and watch how it's better now. Even though that's cold-ass coffee and I really hated it, I'm pretending I like it. Where's the brunette? Well, my brunette is doing something very fun right now. Not with me. I mean, not my same. Well, you seem to know things. First human in Mars? I don't think that'll be me. I think we'll get there. How do you stop being so anxious? Oh, that's a really good question. So I would say I was born an anxious little kid. If you ever saw the movie Little Man Tate, I had that problem without being as smart as Little Man Tate. But I've spent my whole life making it a top priority to work on my, I'd say, tension and anxiety and that stuff. And I make it my full-time job. So I put it as my top priority. Most people who have problems with stress and anxiety, they work on everything else as their top priority, and then the result is anxiety. Now, I know some people have, legitimate mental conditions that can't be helped by lifestyle, but for for the rest of the people who just have too much stress and too much anxiety, I'm a maniac about sleep, exercise, and diet, and all the things that promote good mental health. So I go out of my way to avoid negative thoughts. So if the news comes on and it's about a terrible tragedy, I like to know what it is, but the headline's fine. I don't need to see the pictures. When my brother and sister who are visiting bring up topics that are unpleasant to engage with, I pretend I'm listening and think about other things. I'm looking at my brother right now and laughing because he's standing next to me. Yeah, alcohol is poison. I think I used to enjoy it socially, but I've given it up. And I didn't realize how poison it was until I stopped doing it. I only was a social drinker on weekends now and then, but I didn't realize that it kind of takes 2 days out of your life, even just to get your old ass off live. I love it when people sign in just to tell me to sign off. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable contribution that these 400 people didn't realize they were having a bad time and you needed to sign on to tell them that they should be watching something else. Yeah, so here's another big trick for reducing your anxiety and your tension. I read about this, and this is the sort of thing you can't believe until you try it. When things are terrible, and you're just in the worst mood, you're depressed, you just have some whatever mental issues going on, if it's the normal kind and not the organic kind, it turns out that doing something nice for someone else who doesn't deserve it and didn't ask for it, it fixes most things. It's weird. Doing something nice for someone else adjusts your attitude. And it's hard to do because when you feel bad, that's the last thing you want to do. But once you realize it actually works, I've been doing that for years. The worst funk you get into, you can climb out in minutes just by doing something substantial and unexpected for someone else. Charity's a little indirect. It works, but sort of too many in between layers to feel the mental benefit of doing it. It works for some people, obviously. There he is. People wanted to see you on camera. He was just filming me doing this. Where's my sister? She got away. How conscious is Trump's use of persuasion? How much is a part of who he is? It's a trick question, because when you learn persuasion, it just becomes the way you talk. If you ask me, and people say this all the time with my blog, they say, oh, you did a really good job using this or that persuasion technique, or good job hypnotizing people in your blog. But if you ask me what techniques I used, I wouldn't be really conscious of it as it's happening, because it's like learning to touch type, type by fingers without looking. It's like learning a new language. It's like doing a lot of things. It just becomes part of how you operate. But yet, if I looked at my own writing after the fact and said, now analyze this and tell me all the persuasion techniques you used, I could do that. It's unnecessary, because it's sort of just the way I talk. Is my brother a persuader? He's getting better and better. Let's just say this. He ran for an election recently and won in a landslide. So that's all you need to know. You just mentioned. So using my techniques gleaned mostly from the Trump stuff, he won an election to something local in a landslide unexpectedly. Let's just say he was the Trump dark horse candidate who used some persuasion techniques to win in a landslide. Well, I helped a little, but mostly he was just looking at the techniques I was writing about and adopting them. What occupation would you seek if the comic book thing hadn't worked out? Excellent question. I probably would have been working for a startup, because just my sensibilities go in that direction. In fact, I've had a couple of startups already, and I'm working on one right now. So I always have something working out there, startup-wise. But I think if I had to retool to go back and develop a new kind of career, it would have been programmer. So I did a lot of programming in my youth, languages and processes that are no longer relevant to the current world. But there's almost nothing I've done that I enjoyed that much. You should be. So probably I would have learned, as many of the full stack development languages as I could. So I'd probably be building websites right now. Do I code much? I don't do it now, but I did it for years in my youth. Do you have work enemies? Well, I work for myself, so I certainly have critics who are sort of the usual critics, including some media publications such as Gawker and sometimes Huffington Post, and I think rawstory.com and wonket.com both came after me this week. Yeah, I was using more powerful Basic Plus. Best way to learn how to code? I don't know the best way, but I think you could go to lynda.com, Lynda, and get high quality lessons that would take you from beginning to end. Yeah, Salon's one of the big critics. Although Salon's a mixed bag. Every now and then somebody on Salon will say something that's not entirely critical of me. So they're, unlike Gawker or the others I mentioned, who are pretty much all evil all the time. Salon at least attempts sometimes to do the intellectual, honest thing and have a little balance. So I'll give them half credit for occasionally allowing other voices in. Ever get into legal trouble for Dilbert? No, not in any meaningful way. Nice takedown of Bill Kristol. Thank you. I was proud of that one. Will Trump pardon Julian Assange? I don't think so. I can't say I know enough about that. Best way to get good at coding is to code, yeah. It helps to be an autodidact, self-learner type. So not everybody learns the same way, but yes. Have you ever regretted a blog post? Yes. Only the ones that weren't well thought out. Should he pardon Snowden and Assange? I could speak to Snowden, and I think history will vindicate Snowden. Not only do I think that, but at one point I imagined he would actually come back to the United States and run for office and possibly win, because I think he has the chops to do that. But I think now he's spent too much time in Russia, so the Manchurian candidate meme would take him down. Even, I assume there's nothing to it. I assume that Russia is trying to influence him, but I also imagine that if he came back to the United States and ran for president, by that time he would not be influenced by them. But I just don't think he could win at this point because there's too much Russia taint on him. Outsourcing Dilbert, like McDonald's. I thought of different ways to do that. For a while on the website, we allowed people to put their own captions on my strip, but they were so bad we stopped doing it. Do you watch these recordings? No, I don't enjoy watching myself on any kind of digital media. It's painful. A lot of polite people in here. It's pretty impressive. Beautiful face. Thank you. You're too kind, but you need to get your vision checked. Would legalizing weed harm Trump? Why would that harm him? How does David Brooks keep going in media? Well, he hasn't had a good year because he was predicting against Trump. How old is your profile pic on Twitter? A few years old. I'm much better looking than that now. A few years? Oh yeah, it's several years old now. Do you exfoliate? I do not. Should I? All right, questions with HIT. Remind me what that is. I might be. It's a good trolly looking profile picture. You look badass bald. Well, it's not exactly bald. It's just a number one cut. Why blame your grandma if she had no free will? I didn't say I blamed her per se. I said that I would murder her if she wasn't already dead, which is different. Or I would at least consider murdering her if she wasn't already dead, because she deserved to be murdered. By the way, if you're just coming in to that conversation late, that sounds pretty bad. But what you don't know is that she was a child abuser of epic proportions. So I didn't know as a kid that I was being abused because I didn't know any better. But when I got older, I realized that she's the type of abuser that people grow up and kill. but if somebody didn't get her first, and I think they did, she died under suspicious circumstances, let's say, but it wasn't me. I have an alibi. You're not capable of murder? Oh, I think everybody's capable of murder. They just need a good enough reason. She made you successful? Possibly. In some ways, that's true. I do pretty well capitalizing on chaos. You can relate. A lot of you can relate. There are a lot of abusers who deserve to be killed. And I don't recommend it because you're going to go to jail. And, there's lots of good reasons not to kill people. But it's not that they don't deserve it. Putin like Trump. Is that good or bad for Trump? Here's the thing. In what world should Russia be our enemy? Like, where would that ever make sense? They're the most natural, the natural ally of the United States, other than China. I mean, the three of us should be on the same side, no matter who else is on our side also. Those three should be on the same side most of the time. We're not looking for each other's territory. and we'd like to keep the world order because we're at the top. The three of us have a natural interest. How do you know what you don't know? Nobody knows that. Was the Melania plagiarism intentional? No, I doubt it. That just sounded like a group writing problem where somebody put the first draft. Well, I think the person who admitted doing it, that story sounded exactly correct to me, and it's what I imagined happened, some version of that, before we knew. Can't scope after mutual destruction. Yeah, that would be a problem. All right, I'm going to sign off now. I got to do some stuff. I'm going to go gun shopping. Going off to the gun store, see what new and beautiful things they have. We live in a country where if you write about Trump, it's good to be well armed. So I'm going to go look at the guns, try to see what they got that's new. All right, bye everybody. Have a good day.